year, and we know what kind of season he's had. Luis Grosso also on that all-conference team despite all the firepower that the Wildcats have. So there you go. We're set for action. South Carolina in the road black, Kentucky in the home white. Of course, these two teams ended the regular season with a 3-0 Kentucky win in Columbia.
Pretty familiar shape here for Kentucky, Dave. A lot of what we've seen all season.
Nick Rodfetta is our referee. And here comes South Carolina with the long throw in. And a foul. And of course, for the Wildcats, it's been kind of a dream season. They currently are riding that first undefeated regular season in UK history, the Sun Belt regular season champs in their first year in the Sun Belt. Seedings are what are important in the postseason, but in the last poll, I think Kentucky was 2, still 1 in the RPI, and Grinning with a touch too many perhaps, but he had a good run. For South Carolina, they come in here, a program still on the mend, on the build rather. And for those of you who may not be familiar, there is no men's soccer in the SEC, which is why Kentucky and South Carolina are playing in the Sun Belt. A program that has, that they would seem, Gavin, to have every opportunity in the world to build something down there with the base that they have. And what they can do. Certainly the university and all those pieces are in place, and that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, certainly a great place in the world to be playing soccer, and not a hard place to recruit to, I imagine. But of course, that's college soccer.
Right. And I think the margin between the top teams this year has been closer than maybe a long time.
Yeah, this is the closest it's been since I've been over here, Dave, which I'm coming up just over 10 years now myself over here. We talk all the time about growth. More and more people coming to games, more and more kids playing the sport. More and more resources going into the game.
Wildcats with a chance, trying to put it on the left foot, and instead they wait for Miller. And a whistle goes against Kentucky. So
Kentucky just early trying to find Bjorgolfsson, go into his feet against those back three and try and get runners in behind.
Tony Annan in his second year as the South Carolina coach, and when we were talking to him the other day, Gavin, he talked about the fact that he really believed it would be more difficult on the team that won a game 3-0 in the last meeting with this quick a turnaround than to be the team that lost 3-0.
Right, I mean, it adds all the pressure to have to go out and turn out a result again for this Kentucky team, but you know, we've seen them do it over and over this season, and they've been undefeated.
There you see Tony Annan, guy who's got a wealth of coaching experience. And the man that Ray Tanner put in charge of turning around the fortunes of Gamecock men's soccer. Had a lot of success with their women's program. Bjorgulfsson trying to post up there. And there's contact and no whistle. Here's your guy, Maurice. He leaves for Miller. Trying to work the left side. And that'll be the first corner of the night, I do believe.
Well worked. Hey, and see Bjorgulfsson here. Just a show of strength, isn't he, a bull? I see Maurice there just being patient, looking for that run in behind from Bjorgulfsson, but often just to wait for Miller to come up that left side.
And so here's Robert Screen, who will take those corners for Kentucky, especially from this position where he'll bend it in toward the goal as he kicks with his right foot.
And that usual Kentucky picture, all plowed into that 6-yard box.
Bjorgulfsson was right there and got his head on it, no surprise. He just couldn't square it up.
They cause goalkeepers, they've done it all season, they cause them such trouble by packing that 6-yard box like they do. It makes it very difficult for the keepers to get any sort of a step and a jump.
So once again, Ben Alexander, 6'4" freshman from Chilliwack, British Columbia. And as Casper Moles pulls that one in, how about Gavin's goals for the game?
Yeah, you know, as I mentioned earlier, South Carolina will have to get out and press really high against this Kentucky team. They've got, with those 2 wingbacks and 4 players across the top, they've got the potential to really get themselves high up there and make things difficult. And I think in transition is going to be such an important stage of the game for South Carolina throughout the game here, if they're going to have success in getting goals against this Kentucky team. Down on the Kentucky side, you know, I'm expecting them to want to maintain possession here in this game, dictate tempo, dictate direction. And as we've seen all season from them, they've transitioned quickly. They've gotten organized. We talk about intensity all the time. Intensity is not always running it around. It's about staying concentrated and staying organized.
Boy, I'm telling you, at least we've talked about this a lot, but Nick Rod Fata, the referee, if you're a player, you're wanting to see exactly what's going to be allowed and not allowed. But on that possession right there, had 2 pretty good knocks in the box and no whistle at all called. So as a player, you may not like it, but you've just got to adjust to it, right?
Right. And I think it's important for referees, you know, just as players do, to feel their way into games, not be too reactive in those opening few minutes.
That was a pretty back heel there from Ethan Deacle-Dax. Jaden Ramsey Kelly. Can't see him at the bottom of the screen here, but he is over here all by his lonesome.
And that's what the setup for South Carolina gives you, just natural width.
Referee and the assistant referee still with no flag up, and Bjorgulfsson thought he was held on that run. And now Johan Sedergren is some kind of hot. I mean, that looks like a grab to me.
Yeah, it looks like he got just too much Bjorgulfsson for my liking. I think his coach will advocate for him.
Boy, and Johan Sedergren usually makes his point and then moves on. I mean, he is some kind of upset. Norris. And now On the run, here comes Miller again, center of the pitch. Bjorgolfsson tried to spin, and that time he just spun out. Now South Carolina trying to build from the back.
Kentucky just getting bodies back, getting organized again. Those two defensive midfielders, Clay Halstead, Martin Sarita, packing in front of that back four.
Perez switches the field. And now it comes to Ramsey Kelly.
South Carolina really stretched deep back five right now.
Number 4, Junior St. Juice getting the start tonight. He did not start against the Wildcats. And so Johan Settergren, as we talked about in our open, number 2 Marshall knocked off today. Kentucky knows it's safely in the NCAA field, and so I think he is putting extra emphasis on the first part of this game, trying to create energy. I think his team has come out and they've got energy, just like this run. Bjorgolfsson's in the middle. Goes across the box and nobody home. That was a big run on the far side.
Grenning just getting himself to the top of the 6-yard box rather than the far post. Sometimes as that last run, you're going to make a gamble.
Sarita, and he's tackled off the play. And so far, South Carolina has been aggressive and effective with its tackling.
Really making great use of that width out there on this end with Ramsey Kelly. Takes a lot of patience to stay out wide at times, especially when you're not getting the ball, but you're such a valuable outlet for your team.
Wow, so the assistant referee had signaled that it was Kentucky ball, and they put it in, and it was South Carolina ball. And then they got it back, and now you've got somebody down on the pitch in the back.
Yeah, we see Rocky Perez down.
So there you see the shove, and you see the frustration continue for Johan Settergren. And now the referee signals for the training staff to come out and take a look at Rocky Perez.
And that looks like a byproduct of that collision with Martin Sarita. We see Martin Sarita arguing with the referee still. He was furious about the decision that he didn't get a free kick outside the box in what would have been a tremendous territory. And we get a second look at that here.
So there's a hand on the jersey. The tackle looked clean. I think what Sarita was complaining about was the fact that he was being held, and the defender had a handful of jersey.
And we see that all the time out here, Dave. You know, these opening 10 minutes are often about figuring out what a referee's going to do. And Sarita, no stranger to a tackle, no stranger to a bit of physicality himself out here. We'll want the same generosity from our referee here tonight.
Boy, and Perez, this does not look like it's a cramp or anything. He's having trouble getting off the pitch. Maybe he rolled an ankle or something, or now he's going to try to stay on. I'm not sure. He's got to come off for just a second, right?
He will have to come off because the play has been stopped for him.
Now the deal, am I right about this? And Brandon Wicke does such a great job for us. There's no re-entry in the first half in the Sun Belt tournament. Do I remember that correctly from the first game, Brandon? No re-entry in the first half, so this will affect that decision.
And this will be a big blow for South Carolina, whether we see Perez come out in the second half or not. This will be a big blow. He's someone in there that really screens and protects that back three and at times back five, and is a big combination player into that top 4 players that are up there for South Carolina. Looks like Brian Banahan getting ready to replace him.
Well, no, I think because of that substitution rule, Perez is down there and he comes back in.
Okay, happy to take a breather.
Moles now takes it the other way. Kentucky trying to play over the top.
Just a bit overzealous from Halstead. You know what Kentucky have done such an amazing job at figuring out throughout the season is just understanding some of those patterns and some of those triggers for runs, for different balls that get played, and they're so good at it that we notice it so much when they fall out of some of those patterns. Robert Screen just getting it right there. He had to.
Bjorgulfsson trying to step up and make a swipe. Ramsey Kelly had it taken away. And here's Grenning with some space. Tried to get it to Bjorgulfsson. And just to my eye, Gavin, I think what I'm seeing is that Kentucky's playing very unselfishly, maybe too unselfishly at this point.
Right, there's the second moment from Casper Grenning. Drives into space that we know he loves, and we've seen him strike and be successful from there. Go ahead and test our goalkeeper nice and early. See what Ben Alexander's all about and what's happened since Tuesday.
And the other thing that happens as well is when you've got Bjorgulfsson back there, he attracts so much attention, that's going to open up more of those lanes for you.
Certainly does. Certainly does. And I mean, so much of your movement on a soccer field is about doing some of that selfless running. And Bjorgulfsson does it so well.
But I've got to tell you, despite the fact they're playing before a big home crowd tonight, the South Carolina squad has shown some nice poise early on, and they have come out here and they have not blinked. And it would be easy to blink against a Kentucky team that is off to one of its best starts in history. First time they've gone 11 wins without a loss. They've done it with 10, they've done it with 9 twice, they've done it with 8. And they would love nothing better than to extend it to 12 tonight.
It gets better and better every season here in Lexington.
Screen on the far side. So here's Enzo Mariz
with another in-swinger.
And so the first guy everybody is going to look at is going to be Bjorgulfsson, obviously. But you've got Sarita in there now that's a big target. And a guy that I've always thought has been really dangerous on these deals for Kentucky is Grosso.
Yeah, certainly he's smashing in the air. And his counterpart, Rodriguez, not far off either.
I mean, Grosso's either going to get the ball or he's going to clear somebody out. That's a beautiful ball.
It's a great delivery.
Front. Wow. That ball got through a lot of people. And
Max Miller on his own here, 3v1.
He's getting some help back now. Look at Grosso get back there. And it's a goal. And South Carolina has taken the early lead. And Johan Settergren is
fuming down there.
I mean, listen, give South Carolina credit, but it was Clay Holstad that was clearly knocked off the ball.
And this crowd wants the referee to hear it.
Okay, so watch this. So here comes Holstad right here.
Breaks in. And we see it's the man, Adam Luckhurst, who actually cleared the ball off the line down one end, ran all the way down the other end. And a very good finish for the forward.
And so that's Adam Luckhurst, who gets his 5th of the year. And Kentucky at home falls behind South Carolina 1-0.
Not for the first time this season we've seen Kentucky fall behind.
No. During the times they have, though, they have shown an ability to come back and quickly even things. So here's a look at the play that started everything. And watch what happens to Holstad here.
I mean, for me,
he's clearly
it's a clear
checked
foul.
off the ball.
Perez has stepped across him, and he's had no challenge for the ball. And if he has, Holstad's gone by him with it. Referee may not want to see that one again.
Here's Holstad getting grabbed again. Maurice takes it across the top of the box. And Ramsey Kelly comes out of there with it. So Ryder now controls for the Cats, and here's Miller.
Kentucky would just want to find their tempo here again. They like doing things on their terms.
Rodriguez chips it in there. And it was settled nicely by Luckhurst, the man who got the goal. Almost 26 minutes in.
And we see just the last couple of minutes there. Couple of miscues here from Robert Screen there, right back. Just want to catch his breath. He's a guy who's got experience and got all the ability in the world. Just needs to catch his breath. Composed by Miller.
And that will be important for the Wildcats to keep their composure.
And we often talk about how good the surface is out here, but despite going deeper and deeper into the season, the surface looks clean and well trimmed as always.
Oh yeah. Grenning trying to set it on his right foot, does, near post. Alexander laid out and turned it away.
Grenning has done fantastic to get a shot away there.
And that ball off the foot of Luckhurst. And the Wildcats quickly put it back in. Our stats aren't working right now. But I'm just going here strictly from memory, Colin. Has there been a foul called in the game?
Not just yet, I don't think.
I don't think there's been a single foul. 2 fouls? Both against the Gamecocks, I'm told.
A referee's whistle will be getting cold.
Here's Grosso.
And important here for Kentucky not to panic. Keep doing what they're good at. For South Carolina, I think that the trap here, going 1-0 up so early on this first half, is to start sitting back and to end up in your own 18-yard box for the rest of this half. A lot of soccer left to go.
2 fouls, both against South Carolina. Kentucky's taken 2 shots, gotten 1 on goal. South Carolina's gotten its only shot on goal. It came at the 16:53 mark. Adam Luckhurst with the assist to Ethan Deacle-Dax. And it's a 1-0 South Carolina lead. Boy, and there's a hard knock right there, and no foul call either. I mean, Miller really came running into Deacle Dax.
Yeah, and Deacle Dax just letting the referee know.
I mean, but I mean, as a player, you don't want things to get too physical, but as a player, you got to know that if that's the way it's going to be called, that's the way you better play. And so Deacle Dax is going to take the kick. Taking the corner. Knocked away. That was Screen.
Not beating that first
turned
man.
It back.
We talk about it all the time, Dave. Crosses. Got to beat the first man.
Deacle Dax will take it again.
Long throw here.
Bjorgolfsson got a head on it. And now the Wildcats try to clear. And it was kept in by Ramsey Kelly. Logan Frost with it. Now back to Perez. Deacle Dax got it through to Luckhurst. How about that tackle? What a play. Rodriguez comes from the backside. And the Lexington crowd comes alive. It looked like Luckhurst was an inch or so away from his second.
He's covered a lot of ground to get there. And he's not there. He's not just got there quickly. He's got his distance and direction perfect. Brave, brave tackle by Rodriguez.
One of the
big
best
payoff
you'll ever see. So Deacle Dax will take what is the third corner of the night for the Gamecocks. And that ball is headed right at the goal, and Moles turned it away.
St. Jude's just getting his head on that.
The Sun Belt Keeper of the Year comes up big when his team needs it the most.
A nice busy start for us, Dave.
Mm-hmm. Bjorgolfsson has it now, but not in a place where he likes to get it. Nicely served over there by Grosso, and now to the middle it goes. Here's Bjorgolfsson trying to turn, and it's wide right.
It's been a battle there the last few minutes between Bjorgolfsson and Henry Wygand.
Wygand, a big guy, one of the guys, few guys that can go physically with Bjorgolfsson.
And we see that ball just being left by Enzo Maurice right there. We talked about how clever and how cute he can be. And it's a moment like this that I think will begin to unlock that back three here for South Carolina.
And there's a foul call. And you see Luckhurst, who got that goal, not happy about that foul call.
See the South Carolina, they've been confident since that goal. Pressing those front five players forward and forward as they can. Luckhurst at the tip of it.
Grosso looking for the delivery to Bjorgolfsson. Trying to get it over. And now they go back to Bjorgolfsson. Here's Holstad. Nobody home up the middle.
Again, Dave, you picked up on it. Just trying to be too cute in front of goal sometimes.
Miller couldn't penetrate.
Nice bit of composure from Nielsen.
Grosso keeps it in as we're under 20 minutes to play here in the first period, as the regular season champion Wildcats trail 1-0.
Martin Sarida really sitting deep here, trying to dictate this start of an attack for Kentucky.
There's Luckhurst with 5 goals now and the 4 assists. And that leads his team.
Referee just losing himself for a moment. Looks like he's up for trainers rather than his cleats.
Here comes Ramsey Kelly.
There's something always comedic when referees fall, no matter what sport it is. And there's Robert Screen, 84th career match, 2nd in UK history.
You want to talk about a mainstay?
Start charging him rent.
Right?
With the performances he puts in over the years, he certainly earned his keep.
Holstad plays it back to Grosso. And now Rodriguez. South Carolina falling back, but obviously Luckhurst still up there in an attack position along with Deacle Docks.
And those two players playing an important role up there, just trying to screen those balls like we're seeing right there into Martin Sarida that are going to cut through.
Grenning cut one loose, and Alexander had to go down and get it.
So much about stopping Kentucky going forward today for South Carolina. We'll be stopping the ball going into that midfield area and letting Kentucky turn in that pocket like they do so well.
Now they switch the field, and they have played a lot through Jaden Ramsey Kelly tonight. And he really hadn't faced a lot of pressure over here.
Well kept in on that far side. South Carolina just enjoying some possession.
Especially with that 1-0 lead now. Frost. Luckhurst with a touch. And the Kentucky defense is back.
You know, part of what I think has been difficult for Kentucky is dealing with so many players high and wide and not knowing who's going to step. We've seen several occasions Robert Screen not knowing whether to go or whether to stay and hold himself out for that runner.
Cristiano Bruletti stopped the advance right there of Grosso. And substitution for the Wildcats. 19 Brennan Creek comes in. And for the first time here at home, there you see Danny Evans. Now, Danny was playing really well at the beginning of the year, got injured. He played at South Carolina last week. But before that, we had not seen him since the Marshall game on September 16th. And he is a crucial piece to the Wildcat puzzle as we head down the stretch, and his team could certainly use a lift from him right now.
Danny's real talisman of this program, and you know, I think here for 15 minutes we're going to see a lot of energy at Danny.
So he comes in for Nick Gutman. Creek comes in for Martin Sarida.
Well handled by Perez. I tell you, it's been pretty end-to-end stuff so far, Dave. Wide open. Both of these teams enjoy space out wide, and they enjoy their strikers getting high up the field, which means there's a lot of space through the middle here.
But only, despite all this action, only 7 total shots. 4 for Kentucky, 3 for South Carolina. But the important thing is the Gamecocks got one into the back of the net. Grosso switches the field now. Maurice got it over to screen, deflected. Did it get across the line? No. They say that Alexander got it. And Tony Annan up off the South Carolina bench saying, hold the thing up. And we talked about weird things happening on the full moon. How about Adam Luckhurst getting free? Screen.
And we see he's only been on a couple of minutes, but Brennan Creek just starting to drift into that number 10 pocket right in front of Bjorgolfsson.
Nice run by Miller and a delivery to Grinning. Now they go to Evans. That's what you're talking about. He took the attention away from Bjorgolfsson. Now you've got both of them in the box, and Creek is there as well.
Disappointing ball from screen out wide.
And Tony Annan is going to counter with some substitutes of his own. Grinning leaves it for Holstad, and that was blocked by a defender. I think that might have been Wygand. And a collision and a foul called against Carolina. And Maurice.
And no foul, straight into a throw-in.
Wow, I thought he certainly signaled foul.
Some of these referees like to talk with their hands, can be confusing for us up here, Dave.
Right. Screen goes to Evans. So it's just a question of how Kentucky solves this puzzle. And Johan Sedegren has talked a lot before about everybody seeing the same picture.
Hey, and not an easy puzzle either. We look at that right across the back, 7 or 8 South Carolina players.
Evans tried to chip it to the far side and nobody's there.
And there's a moment where Casper Grenning just needs to be patient. He's the last player that's going to come in off that back post. And he's getting himself across Bjorgolfsson. When you've got a job to do, it's so important that you stick and you hold out that job. And that's being there at the back post when the ball skips past Bjorgolfsson.
This is a big physical South Carolina team, and they're about to get bigger with their next substitution.
Great switch of play by Dickel Dax.
Ramsey Kelly had it taken away nicely. That was Holstad who came up there and got it. Coming up on the 10-minute mark here in this first period. Nice touch from Bjorgolfsson and a nice touch from Grinning back to Bjorgolfsson. Miller trying to center. And every time Kentucky has kicked the ball seemingly in this first 45 minutes, it's gone off the body of a South Carolina defender. Gamecocks playing excellent defense. Speaking of excellent, how about that by Luis Grosso, who was an all-conference defender this year. There you see South Carolina next to last in the Sun Belt in terms of scoring, but boy, they got the first one this year and grabbed the momentum. That young man, Luckhurst, got it. Bjorgolfsson comes out now to take a rest. And coming in for him is Ben Damgey, who's a physical player. And then on the same standpoint, Harrison Meyering checks in for South Carolina. Meyering, a 6'2" sophomore from over in England.
And hasn't Ben Damgey scored some important goals this year for this Kentucky team?
he's a guy that can really play through contact. So the way this game has been officiated tonight, and that's not being critical of it, that's just the way it's been officiated. He's a guy that would like a game like this, you would think.
And can often attract a little bit less attention than someone like Bjorgusson.
That's an excellent point. But he's up at the point of the Kentucky offense, being marked up there by Wygand. But the Wildcats have to get it out of their own end. Perez with a nice step and a good tackle. And Evans gets it up to Damji.
And here he is.
He's got Grinning on the far side. He's got Evans on the trail. And he tried to wind it up.
Your Kentucky just not committing players forward in the same way that we generally see them do when they're counter against teams.
Ree's left foot. And again, Kentucky getting opportunities, but certainly not the kind of quality opportunities we've seen them get before.
No, not as tactical going forward as we've seen them all season. But again, important not to panic if you're Kentucky. A lot of soccer left to play. This is not the first time they've been here. They've seen this before.
Again, the goal by South Carolina's Adam Luckhurst with the assist from Ethan Deacle-Docks at the 16:53 mark. It's kind of a jailbreak, if you will. And you correctly called it that Miller had gotten himself back by himself. Evans goes down, and there's no call. Screen with a block. And nicely batted away.
And for the second time, the referee's down.
Rodriguez. And the referee did go down for the second time. Screen. Trying to figure out how to attack. And Rodriguez comes up from the back. Now the Cats are committing numbers forward.
See Enzo Maurice just dropping in a bit deeper, trying to make something happen here for Kentucky.
Miller gives it up. And now Grosso looks like he's going over there to screen. Evans continues to work that right side. And that is nice defense on the far side by the Gamecocks.
Well handled out there by Parker League.
Logan Frost over there with that defense. Here you see Damji with the 5 goals in 14 matches. He's a guy that can make some things happen. That touch was blocked again. And that's a nice through ball. Damji leaves for Miller. Spacing not good. Miller and Damji in the same area.
Kentucky starting to be a bit more dynamic in around midfield, how they're getting in and getting out of spaces.
Damji didn't get a foot on it, but it was the right idea.
Well handled by the center back, Henry Wygand.
And we've got an official's whistle that stops play.
And we see Wygand here just doing the right thing, getting himself between Damji and that ball that's rolling into that dangerous, dangerous area.
So you had Jaden Ramsey-Kelly, who was down on the pitch, and who I believe has now come to the sidelines. Micah Kolodny comes in for Ramsey-Kelly. As we're coming up on the 4-minute mark in this first period. Boy, it seems like it's been a quick half. Logan Hitzman also checking in for South Carolina.
Giving Berletti a breather.
And this big crowd here at the Bell Soccer Complex starting to become a little more anxious. Miller, nice through ball. Grinning though, just lost it.
Kentucky will know how important it is to try and get a goal here before halftime. Again, trying to exploit some of that space in behind the wing backs. And Granning, uncharacteristically for him, losing control of the ball.
Just looked up and lost it.
You got feet that move as quick as his, sometimes it's difficult.
Holstad controls the throw in.
Robert Screen on his bike out right, just trying to find some of that width again. Kentucky inching forward.
Now they try to get a through ball, and that's going to be a, oh, they call it a goal kick. Nice defense again. That's your guy Perez.
He's been solid. He's been solid tonight. He covers space. He does a lot of that selfless work we talk about all the time for defensive midfielders.
Damji thought he had earned himself a corner.
Really good utility player. Just going sometimes in that position, in that defensive midfield role, you just got to go where you're needed. I mean, you see a runner and you hear your centre back call to you to follow, you just go.
And now South Carolina trying to create. Frost on the far side working against Screen. That ball goes into the middle, and as the night goes on, and maybe the temperature falling and the dew starting to be more and more prevalent, we're seeing more and more people slip on the pitch.
Yeah, Luis Grasso just not taking any chances there and opting for Rosette.
Pinned down in the corner. That's Myring. And the Wildcats get it back, but can't clear it just yet. Damji lays it back to Maurice. And Miller plays it through again. That's Grinning.
Well handled by Nielsen. Kentucky want the clock stopped here.
Wow.
I see great step in with Miller. Just asking a question, are those defenders coming on? We see Hitzman just getting into the game. We know he's going to be a little bit cold. Go put him under some pressure.
So this is an interesting spot right here, because I think Johan Settergren, you know, you could either have Screen kick it with the right foot, you could have Maurice kick it with the left. And you've got all those big bodies behind.
If I'm a betting man, I'm saying it's Robert Screen.
You've got Evans at the back post. Bjorgolfsson's out. But Grasso is there as well. There it goes to the back post, and it's too far.
And Kentucky will be frustrated with that. Set pieces, typically a stalwart for them. They know what they're doing. Everyone's on the same page, and the delivery is traditionally exquisite from someone like Robert Screen.
That's why it's important for the Cats to get out of here without any other damage and get back to the locker room. But if somehow South Carolina could get another goal, they would put Kentucky in an incredibly precarious spot. Gamecocks playing with house money. They're the 8th seed, and Kentucky not only the #1 seed, but one of the top teams in the country.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So that's the end of the first half of play. Each team with 2 corners, each team with 2 shots on goal. But the difference is that young man right there, Adam Luckhurst.
Out on the same pitch at the same time.
So it looks like Damje's going to be up top, and there you see Bjorgelsen down below. You've got Maurice, Gutman, and is that Holstad? No, Holstad's in the middle. I'm trying to see who that is on the far side.
Brennan Creek.
Brennan Creek gets a second half start. So he's obviously trying to get some more firepower, and right there you had Bjorgelsen win one in the air, and then Damje's pass was picked off.
It's tournament play. You got to go for broke.
Here comes Carolina. There's Luckhurst again.
Well timed by Rodriguez.
And now let's see if the Cats can quickly switch the field or whether or not the South Carolina defense gets back. Screen now working the near side here with Gutman.
After an opening minute, frenzied minute, Kentucky just calming things down here, a little bit of possession.
Rodriguez and Maurice here on the near side. And screen really open down here. And there's Grosso who finds him. He's really good at that. Gutman back over to screen. And that's booted out of bounds off the foot of Luckhurst. They say it was deflected off a screen.
Luckhurst taking no prisoners there.
Nice play by Screen as he took it away from Luckhurst. And you've got to credit South Carolina. I mean, as soon as the ball touches a Wildcat's foot, they are closing, and closing hard on the man with the ball.
And that's what it's going to take. We know this Kentucky team has a lot of quality. We saw perhaps a lethargic and underwhelming first half from Kentucky. But at any moment, the tides can turn. We've seen it time and time again.
Maurice tried to play it to Gutman, who fell on the pitch. And you see those matches there where the Cats came from behind. You need another comeback effort here as that ball is past Damje. And they're going to call a foul on Bjorgelsen.
You know, to me, that's a strange foul, given everything we've seen being let go in the first half. That little
Again, you wanted to be consistent,
that
right?
little bit of contact would frustrate me, and it looks to have frustrated Bjorgelsen.
Gamecocks keep possession.
And as we see Brennan Creek and Ben Damje come on, Martin Srider's no longer in that middle. And Enzo Maurice is sitting next to Clay Holstad. I expect he'll probably play a little bit higher than he will and have a bit more freedom to go forward than Holstad will.
Boy, there's a service right to the top of the box. And a whistle. And it'll be Wildcat ball.
Great ball in. Great ball in. And we actually see that Hitzman had just taken the ball off the head of his teammate coming in behind him.
And maybe that great ball was made a little greater by the fact that after Screen was pushed to the ground, there was a little more space to do that. Boy, and I'm telling you, the Wildcats passing has been, you know, it's been stout all year. And it is just not as good tonight as it has been.
No, there's there can be a real poetry, I think, to passing patterns and having a little bit of quality there. There's a rhythm to it. There's a style to it. And we've just not seen it tonight. It hasn't quite clicked for Kentucky just yet. But with 40 minutes left to play, they'll be trying to find that.
Maurice and screen. And now Rodriguez up in the middle. Nice dig in there by Bjorgelsen to keep the possession. Wow, and that was a shot that was turned loose, and I liked it. But Alexander goes out and saves it again.
And Clay Holstead just trying to test Ben Alexander nice and early.
Why not? But Alexander stood tall, more than passed the test. Here's something that hasn't happened. Screen hasn't gotten a run like that and turned the corner all night.
Much better ball.
Tried to go to Damji, but that ball was knocked out of there, and I believe that was the big man Wygand again.
Referee pulling Maurice back just for an earlier challenge there when he pulled back Rocky. Great strike from Holstad. Johan will have told him at halftime, you've got to test the keeper. 2 shots on goal in the first half for a team like Kentucky will just not have been good enough for this head coach, and not good enough to break down the South Carolina defense. They got 5 players back there, at times nearly 7 players.
They tried to come back across the pitch, and League was able to hold on to it. Holstad battling with Frost, and they call Holstad for the foul.
Just a frustrated grab from Holstad.
And that's a whole bunch of shorts. But again, we saw that being allowed sometime in the first half. And if you're a player, coach, or anybody else, all you want is consistency.
It can be a fine line sometimes.
Right?
And we always, coach, player, we always want it in our favor.
Of course. Screen nicely done to Maurice.
More confident start from screen.
Gutman. And Damji went flying after coming in contact with Perez. And now,
miscue from Nilsson. And again, he's looking at the referee thinking, hey, I did this 5 or 6 times in the first half.
I mean, that's just a shove. That's just a shove. I don't understand how anybody, it's just a shove. When you extend your arms, it's a shove.
And it's from behind. There's no need for him to step out and try and win the ball.
And it doesn't make any difference which team does it. I mean,
prime position here for Kentucky.
And what am I seeing back here? Is this the way they play this, or is somebody hurt? They've got a man behind the wall on the ground?
Yes. So, you know, in the last couple of years, this has returned to the game.
This is the first time I've ever seen that.
We see Perez down there. We expect this wall will jump, and they'll want to make sure that nothing goes underneath it.
Well, how do they jump and not jump on Perez?
Well, they hope they don't.
And it did its job. Holstad! And it's turned back. Whistle hadn't blown yet. Somebody's down at the top of the box. I don't think it's Perez.
Very clever from Grosso just to leave that ball to Holstad.
Looked like it was Wygand, the big defender.
And Holstad just looking for a little bit more quality from him there when the ball comes out. He's got to fizz that ball across with a little bit more pace, and then he gets a second look at it. Just keep the ball in play.
16, Cristiano Bruletti coming in. And that is 15, Henry Wygand. As you see, the senior out of Hamburg, Germany. So I need to double check and see what the re-entry is in the second half.
That will be a moment that will bolster this Kentucky team, give them confidence.
So Wygand's going to have to come off for a moment, right?
Right. I suspect he's made of tough stuff.
Is there one, or maybe, yeah, he's got to step off for a second. I think there's maybe one re-entry allowed in the second half. There you go, one re-entry. And he just needs to step off until the ball's put in play.
And that will not count as his re-entry, of course.
I don't know if it does or not. I don't think it does.
That will just be a typical sort of coming off after you've received treatment and not counted as a substitution. Your re-entry will only count when you've been officially substituted.
We thought that was going to happen with Perez in the first half, but he ended up not coming out, and now Wygand back in. Boy, and that ball's not out yet. And Luckhurst is there causing all kinds of problems. Down there with Deckel-Dox.
Good and patient from South Carolina. Looking down a dark hole.
36 minutes left to play. Remember when we talked to Tony Annan earlier this week, he said he thought it was tougher for the team that won 3-0 rather than the team that lost.
Remains to be seen if he's right. It certainly looks like it is so far.
Screen to Bjorgulfsson. Left it for Maurice. Great run. You had Grinning and Gutman there. And that ball just had too much pace on it.
And hey, that's something that we talked about rhythm. We talked about tempo. We see Kentucky starting to find it here in those last few minutes in the opening 10 minutes here, the second half. And it's that man, Enzo Maurice.
Alexander's set to take the goal kick, and it's a beauty. Bjorgulfsson, and that's a nice feed from Maurice to screen. Gutman looking to turn, and he falls on the pitch.
Did enough just to keep the ball in play.
Deckel-Dox gets it back and then has it taken away by Maurice. And the Wildcats, again, can't connect.
Just important not to get frustrated if you're someone like Aitor Bjorgulfsson.
Longer it goes, though, the harder that's going to be for Kentucky. Grosso went down, thought he was fouled. Referee says play on. Play before that, the Gamecocks thought they were fouled, and the referee says play on. Grosso always looking for screen. They try to chip it into Bjorgulfsson. Perez got a hit on it and then comes out of there with it. Rodriguez, we've seen him in games before, take that and come on up with it. But after what happened with his only goal of the match, I think he thought better of it.
And that's it. As the game goes on, the worry is that you get a little bit cagey.
Bjorgulfsson had that, tried to leave it back.
And there's Perez again. Defensively so sound.
How about Holstad with that interception? Got some room in front of him, and I think he kicked it off a teammate's heel. I think that went right off of Miller.
Just another miscue from Kentucky.
And listen, South Carolina's playing hard, but you know, maybe it's one of those things where you're pressing. Who knows what it is, right?
One of those examples, Dave, I think that illuminates it is Kentucky literally getting in their own way.
Here's Gutman. And now screen. Gutman looking to turn. He has it blocked. Screen had a chance to let it go and centered it. And that was Damji, who couldn't get it framed up. I thought Screen was going to cut it loose himself.
Did very well just to step across that front man and have a glancing header on it just a little bit too much. It's one of those, there's a lot of pace on the ball. You just need to guide it into that next area of the goal. Again, halftime changes for Kentucky, looking strong.
Nice tackle there by Luckhurst. As we've gone under 32 minutes. And you look at the remaining unbeatens, Duke is playing, should be starting right now if they haven't already started. Washington #1, Kentucky #2 in the land, and Duke #3. Only 3 teams without a loss.
Kentucky just trying to draw South Carolina out of that really compact defensive shape in the defensive third.
Bjorgelsen thought he was held. Gutman sends it through. Bjorgelsen keeps it in, and that's through! I don't know whether it was redirected or not. Screen got it at first.
Much better. What a return from
Did
Kentucky.
Bjorgelsen get it and redirect it?
Shot from Screen, deflected off the inside right leg of Bjorgelsen and back of the net.
And the thing about that is Bjorgelsen threw his hands up moments before that, thought he'd been fouled, and then he saw it was still coming. Yes, he did.
And fantastic here from Ben Damji. Just to have the awareness to play that back to Screen.
How
and
about
nothing
that?
on target from Screen.
On that play, 2 back heels. The first one from Damji and the second one from Bjorgelsen for the goal, his 9th of the season.
And nothing unintentional about that from Bjorgelsen. Great awareness of where he is in the box, especially when the ball is flying around at the pace it was.
If our guys can get it, though, I mean, literally right before that, that ball went through, and he kind of threw his hands up like he got fouled and almost quit on the play. And then once he saw it through, he stayed with it. And so Kentucky has now tied it up at the 58-53 mark.
And the crowd are enjoying this.
And the Wildcats now, let's see. Again, South Carolina, they've got to win it all to get into the tournament. So they're playing with house money. And now there's going to be a yellow that's going to be issued to Ethan Deacle-Docks, or at least a warning.
Referee not happy with him.
I think he's giving him a warning. Tony Annan not happy down in front of the Carolina bench either.
Deacle-Docks will be saying to the referee, you're looking for yellow card there against Enzo Maurice.
So as I said, South Carolina knew they had to win. The question now is now that they've gotten back to even, does this loosen up Kentucky?
Crazy what a goal can do for you.
Right? Maurice. And Kentucky, with South Carolina really pressing up now, needs to get this out of its own end.
And we've seen so far in this opening 15 minutes, they have favored this right side with Screen, with Gutman.
Haven't they, though? I'll tell you what else I think has happened as well. Wow, that's a foul. And that's Sarita who's come back in. Casper Grinning came back in for Holstad. Here's Gutman! Boy, and what a laser that was.
Inch perfect pass from Maurice. And we talked about how he's a link to this Kentucky offense going forward. And we see it right there in the precision that he's able to play that threaded ball through for Gutman. And Kentucky off again.
Here come the Cats down the far side. Gutman is open at the bottom. There's Grinning. And if that's deflected, that should be a corner.
We see a great run Great run from Gutman, full of heart.
I'll tell you what else I think has happened, Gavin, and I don't know things like you do, but it appears to this observer that Kentucky has caused real problems for South Carolina defensively with both Damje and Bjorgelsen in there.
Right. You know, it's just think really giving them more and more to think about all through that first half. I think being the sort of apex of Kentucky going forward, Bjorgelsen's an easy guy to focus your attention around. But with, you know, Damje and Creek in there now as well, things get more and more difficult.
Grinning got the second ball and put it back on goal, and the Cats keep it in. What a ball there by Sarita.
Through the legs of
and
Perez.
Rodriguez is up and playing offense, and now it'll be another corner kick.
And just look how high Bjorgelsen gets here.
And he actually got a flick on, and then back here at the top.
And there's Damje. Double trouble.
I think those guys, they're just two big bulls. And they could corral one of the bulls, but I think they're trying to figure out the puzzle for the second.
Hey, we know how well those two guys get along off the field as well as on the field. We've seen them on BBN tonight with our colleague Maggie Davis.
Referees say let's go now. That ball right in front. Alexander punched it out, but the Cats keep it in. Gutman goes far side, and flag is up on the near side, and they say the Wildcats were offside.
The big breath out of belly of that South Carolina coaching staff.
Down to the 26-minute mark. And remember, the way things work here, different than the regular season where there was no extra time this year. There would be 2 10-minute extra time periods. If somebody's leading at the first extra time at the end of it, game over. If you go to a second period and somebody takes the lead, you play the period out, and then game over. But if you played those 2 extra time periods and it's still tied, then you go to kicks.
Coolly
no
done by
re-entry
Maurice.
in the first or second overtime period as well. And now Damje leaves it for Maurice. Cross! And boy, did Grinning time that perfectly, and it was blocked. I'll tell you the other thing they've done too, Gavin. It looks like they've put screen back to like a holding mid and brought Gutman up front here on the right side.
Yeah, he's certainly got himself up a little bit higher up the field. Again, just asking questions back there of Junior Saint-Just.
And so...
Hey, so much trouble has Ben Damje caused up there for that South Carolina defense.
And you know, he's played solidly. I mean, he hasn't gotten a lot of chances, but he has kept, as you said correctly, all of the attention from being focused on Bjorgelsen. Here's a run on the far side. That's a left foot center, and that ball's still loose. And Perez trying to clear it for Carolina. Can't. Look at this run. Boy, that guy has been really good tonight. That Henry Wygand. I mean, that big fella can move. He's got composure back there. He and Nilsson have really been good back there for South Carolina. Under 25 minutes to play now. Here's screen. Oh, and look at Damje in the pocket. Gets it on his right foot.
Clever from screen just to find him in that pocket. And Ben Damje, in such a crowded 18-yard box, somehow finding acres of space.
First touch for Miller in a long time. And you can explain this better than I can, but like here on the near side, you've got a tough matchup when you've got screen pressing up and Gutman there. And the same thing on the far side with Miller and Grenning.
Yeah, there's bags of ability and so much pace, and just makes it very, very difficult to play against.
I'm telling you, though, this South Carolina defense in the back end has really stood up. Screen with a tackle there. And substitutions look like multiple for South Carolina. Logan Frost checks in, as does 12 Brian Banahan. I believe that's the first time we've seen him. He won't be allowed to go in till the next dead ball. And then Myring looking like he's going to come back in as well. Rodriguez with a tackle on Luckhurst.
And now we'll see him. Hey, we had Robert Screen on the screen a moment ago, and I think we can safely say that was an underwhelming first half from him. But what a reaction we've seen in here in the second half. I feel like everything has come through him down on this right side.
And so, interestingly enough, Tony Annan is playing that long game, so he's going to get Luckhurst out, his best offensive threat, and get him some rest. And we are coming up on the time traditionally where Johan Settergren gets Bjorgelsen out of there for some rest. But look at Bjorgelsen right there. Nice tackle. And he couldn't deflect it off a Carolina player, but what hustle right there.
Just letting Micah Kolodny know that he's in a game.
Rodriguez wins it in the air. And Grosso starts it the other way.
Kentucky really stretching the South Carolina shape.
Miller asking for it, and he got it. And Grenning controls. Now here's Miller on a run through. Damgey plays it back, and they come to the near side to screen. Trying to turn a corner, nicely done. Gutman lost it for a second, and the Wildcats will get a throw in.
Robert Screen doing well just to get a second look at that pass. I thought he might have did it first time as that ball was switched.
Bjorgelsen controlled it, and now Gutman will reset. Here's Rodriguez pushed way up. Back and forth, probing. Looking, seeing if anybody slips on a turf. Grenning had it blocked again. I tell you, South Carolina, not only back end guys, Gavin, but they have done an excellent job in on-ball defense.
Penalty.
On what? Is it an unsporting against the South Carolina keeper? A red card. What in the world happened? I don't know that I've ever seen anything like that in my life. He had to be saying something. Now, we've got guys down there on the pitch, and hopefully you can hear this, or they're going to go to the VAR, the video assisted referee.
I think so. Tony Annan.
But do we have any idea what they're looking for?
South Carolina staff baffled.
I didn't see any contact, I don't think.
The referees look certain of things. We don't know whether it was physical or verbal.
What?
From the South Carolina defender. We don't know whether it was physical or verbal. Those would have been the two things.
I didn't see anything. And I mean, Alexander was way behind the play. I mean, it had been... I don't know.
And we see both players and coaching staff down there looking over the referee's shoulder at the VAR, which we do not have access to up here.
And I'm telling you, Alexander, I don't know what happened, but he seems like he's getting ready to walk off.
I think we're going to try and have a look at something here.
And now the referee says no.
Hey, I'm not sure. Nothing that I'm seeing there, Dave.
I mean, see, that's what I'm saying. I mean, he was way behind the play. I didn't see anything. So there's no red card, but is there still a penalty or not?
No red card, no penalty. Of course, there's still some growing pains, I think, around some of this technology that makes it difficult, you know, to sort of be going back on moments. But that's what it's there for, is to, you know, to go and look at things and make sure that you're right. And it was that left hand coming into Bjornsson's face.
So it had nothing to do with Alexander, right? They were looking at Junior St. Just.
Yes. And he was the one that received the red card as well.
So they were looking at the 4 for a possible intentional elbow to the head.
Right.
You saw Bjorgelsson just flinch a little bit.
Right. And it was the left hand of Just that came around and slapped the face of Bjorgelsson. I think on a second look, I imagine the referee would have seen the coming together, and I think both players after the game can admit that there was the pair of them in it.
Well, and here's the thing now. I mean, no matter which side you're on, you know, people like us can talk about this thing forever, fans, right? But I mean, as a player, you just got to put it out of your mind. You got to get back to playing.
Right.
And so here is Perez with a set piece. And that was Dekel Dox. And there's big contact between Perez and Grenning. I'm going to tell you something else about Perez. He is going to get in there, and he's either going to draw contact or create it.
Right.
And it's not contact until the ref calls it. And I like that. Gutman to Sarita. Run through by Gutman. Can he get to the spot? Great tackle. And a great layout by Logan Frost.
And we see that. This will be a second yellow card here for Dekel Dox, maybe.
If it is, he's gone, right?
It's just an earlier warning.
Oh, that's right. He did get a warning, but he does get the yellow now. And that is the first card issue tonight.
And you've seen he's come in horrendously, and understandably, his skipper, Luis Grosso, is upset with that. He's come in horrendously there against Nick Gutman, and you hate to see it.
Okay, so here's Maurice with a corner. You've got Bjorgelsson, and you've got Damji, and you've got Rodriguez. Into the center, Alexander punched it away. Grenning tried to one-time it, and the Wildcats keep it in for a moment. Nicely done in the air. And booted out of there. And South Carolina keeps it in bounds. That was nice hustle back here by Banahan.
South Carolina happy to see that go into the Kentucky half.
Boy, there's Screen and Banahan, and they let them do a little hand-to-hand combat. And Banahan won the better of that skirmish. You see Banahan definitely has a physical advantage on Screen. And now this will be one of those long throw-ins. And it'll be Logan Frost. Gets it to the top of the box. Wow. Gutman looked like he was there and then kind of slowed up a little bit. And now that ball across the end line, and it'll be a goal kick. Man, we have seen some sequences tonight, right?
I haven't been out of breath much this season, Dave, up here, but, you know, the last 5 minutes.
And so Clay Holstad checks in. Maurice gets a rest. And like I said,
I expect Clay will have been given an instruction to just go and lock some things down. Keep us together. Keep shoring up that midfield.
Holstad, nice service to Gutman. He's got Bjorgelsson. Nicely cut off there. That South Carolina defense was there again. These guys are really good in the back end.
Fantastic ball into Gutman.
I mean, the Gamecocks with that 5-3-1 record, but I'm telling you, they are awfully good in the back. And here's Frost to put it in play again.
We knew they were going to come and have a go at Kentucky. Talking to South Carolina coaching staff earlier this week, they talked about how important it was to come out and really have a go at this Kentucky team and not be afraid to commit players forward. They're coming here to win.
That whole play right there was started by the fact that Damji just bowled his way in and dug a ball out. Now Holstad playing it back to Grosso and trying to figure out where they're going to set up the attack as we're under 16 minutes to play. Grinning. Got through there! How about that? Ben
Is that boy Damji? What a picture that is. We've talked about him all game. Right place, right time, and there he was.
We talked about the fact that he and Bjorgelsen were a couple of bulls. And you can mark one, but it's so difficult to mark them both.
And it all started with that patient possession early, and there's Casper Grennan doing what he does best, 1v1. And just peeling away, look at how the defenders are so occupied with Bjorgelsen following him into that space. We see Junior just go in there. And Damji just peeling away and working in perfect harmony.
And it had to be perfect because I've talked about it a lot. This South Carolina defense has played really well. And Damji, I hope he doesn't take offense to this, but he's not the most athletic guy in the world. No. But he is a tough son of a gun.
Talk about IQ out there in the field.
But I'm telling you, he sticks his nose in. He makes tough plays, and he's just not going to stop.
Hey, I'm sure.
And he better not stop now, because I'm telling you, this South Carolina team is more than capable of coming back and evening this thing up.
And a few weeks ago, I had the pleasure of meeting Ben Damji's grandparents after a game. They were down there on a cold evening waiting for him. Hey, and I know they'll be in here tonight, and so proud of what they're seeing this evening. Plenty left to play.
Right back here come the Gamecocks, though. Boy, and they get the turn down there, and that one just goes across the end line. My goodness. And there you see Kentucky, when they've fallen behind, they beat Louisville, and then they had draws with Tulsa, Marshall, and Dayton. And that Dayton match, I think, was especially frustrating for Johan Sedergren. But I'm telling you, I think in a short week, and you travel and everything else, Tony Annan did a spectacular job of getting this team prepared for this, and it's not over yet. I mean, they've given Kentucky all they wanted.
A lot of special South Carolina players that can make something happen out of nothing.
Oh, yeah. And his recruiting is only going to get better. The experience he's had in the sport.
And we see 12 freshmen out there in that roster and 8 graduating seniors and a thinner sort of middle-classman.
So now Kentucky more than content to start using some clock as we're under 14 minutes, but they can't give it away like that. What a nice defensive play. And it was Bryce Griffith.
Casper Moles just letting Luca Rodriguez know, hey, let's not do anything silly. Rodriguez with his hand up apologetically.
We talked about Griffith, and he had been such a part of the attack. He did not start tonight. And here's Damji. He finds finds screen. Sarita back to screen. He's got some room. Nicely headed out of there by St. Juste. And Sarita with a physical play twice to keep possession. Banged it off a defender.
Casper Grenning wanted it.
And that was Nilsson who went to the ground and gave up his body for the block. Perez trying to get it in there. And Rodriguez knocks it away. So there's our summary. Luckhurst got the goal early in the first half. Then Bjorgolfsson, and then Damji.
Max Miller on his bike.
So Johan Sedergren made the decision, and I believe it might be the first time all year that we have seen Damji and Bjorgolfsson play together for an extended period of time, and they're the two guys that have gotten the 2 goals in the second half.
And so much of coaching, you know, it's sort of 50% proactive, 50% reactive. There's only so much preparation you can do going into a game. You've got to react to things that happen. Hey, tactically, I think we've seen a wise decision. And a good testimony to why he's the Sunbelt Coach of the Year.
Here comes League. And Rodriguez back there to cut it off. St. Juice.
Tidy piece of footwork.
Wasn't it, though?
You don't see a lot of that from a centre back. Not with Bjorgolfsson breathing down your neck.
A couple of fresh bodies coming in for South Carolina. And it looks like in this final 11 minutes or so, Tony Annan has to see if he can get some more offensive punch. Boy, and that ball was served right to Banahan, and he just couldn't frame it up.
Just got to remain concentrated here. And Banahan not a million miles away there. Jumped a little bit early. Struggled to get any power on it once he was up so high.
So for South Carolina,
that's it. Looks like we have John Eskay coming in
so
with Will Crane.
Gutman comes in to replace Grenning, who I think is responsible, as much responsible for those goals as anybody.
Right.
Kentucky trying to get it out of its own end. So Cristiano Bruletti came in for Logan Frost, and Will Crane came in for Wygant. So they take out one of the big defenders to get another attacker. Here's Banahan. That cross in front.
Important touch by Rodriguez.
Under 10 minutes to play.
It was Brian Eskay waiting for it on the top of the box.
Tico Docks, nowhere to go. And Kentucky desperately trying to get it out of its own end. Bjorgolfsson controls it. And now they look to play from the back. The other thing that has kind of surprised me, and this is the first time I've seen South Carolina, but as well as Luckhurst played and he got the first goal, we thought he might be going out for just a rest. But with all this substitution to get all more offense back in, we have not seen him return for the Gamecocks. Unless I'm just missing him somewhere.
No, of course, there's always things we don't know up here, but
Yep.
I'm equally surprised. And to be fair to Banahan, he's no slouch up there himself. Kentucky will just be trying to take the sting out of the game, and there's Luckhurst there, watching on.
There he is.
A long way from home.
And again, we obviously don't know anything on a day-to-day basis because we don't get to see them every day. But he had been a handful for Kentucky tonight. And I'm going to tell you, since he had that injury like mid-season, this might be the first time, and again, Damji with the interception. This might be the first time that we have seen Bjorgolfsson go the whole way. So this is a point where Kentucky, not all that long ago, was attacking ferociously. And now as South Carolina drops back, the Wildcats are content to just play it back out like that.
Right, bit like West Virginia earlier, just burning the clock.
Coming up on the 7-minute mark. And Alexander now looking to quickly put it in play.
Hey, and that's what they need to avoid, you know, is getting too cute here at this late stage and trying to do too much. You've got a tired South Carolina team here. You've got to see the game out in a mature fashion.
Boy, that's a nice ball there. But Grosso is there, and he was fouled. Fouls now 9 against South Carolina, 3 against the Wildcats. And there you see, just late on that tackle, and you see the assistant referee on the side.
And we know Grosso doesn't go down easy.
No. Kentucky with 13 shots to 5 for Carolina, 7 shots on goal for Kentucky, 3 for South Carolina. Moles has had 2 saves. And Alexander, who's played really, really well tonight, has got 5. Wildcats just got in each other's way a little bit there. And Gutman saying, hey, settle down a little bit. Tony Annan still instructing his players. Johan Settergren, at least outwardly composed on the Kentucky sideline. And there is Bjorgolfsson, who won another ball in the air. Gutman goes cross court to Damji. I thought he was going to let it go there. Damji now comes back up top and can't get Bjorgolfsson. As we approach 5 minutes left, Damji with that tackle. What a play! And then Bjorgolfsson slides the other way. And are they going to call a foul on Carolina? They do, and they give a yellow to Junior St. Just.
Schreider done well. And again with his hands.
The head right there.
It's what almost got him in trouble not too long ago.
Don't you think that's what it was? He not only tried to get around him, but he actually made contact with the head.
Just trying to push him down.
That's the second yellow against South Carolina. Kentucky has not got one. The clock is stopped at the 4:59 mark. It can either be Screen or Maurice. And it's going to be Maurice. Kept it on the ground and almost snuck it in. Wow! What a play by Alexander. Are you kidding me? I don't know how Maurice got it through there.
Clever stuff by Maurice.
Did it actually deflect off of SK?
Yep.
20? And I think that's what Alexander is saying right there. It's like, dude, you got to stop that if you're going to make contact. And so now Maurice will take the in-swinger from the corner. Back post again, and Alexander stands tall. And now a South Carolina player down. Well, they won't stop the clock, though. That's Deacle Docks. And the clock continues to move as we approach 4 minutes.
Isn't that a good picture? Referee lifting the player up.
Holstad threads another ball through there. Maurice with a left foot. And ain't nothing bad with that because the clock continues to run.
Yeah, I think he had a bit more time and a couple of different options there. Yeah, Bjorgolfsson just running inside. Get something out in front of him, he can get a first-time shot away. Max Miller taking no chances.
Boy, and look at Bjorgolfsson control this thing. Not his best pass right there, but still, he was looking to use time. Trying to settle his team. That ball gets by Miller, and it's a goal kick.
Happy just to use his body.
And Casper Moles will take his good old sweet time to get this one off as the clock ticks toward 3 minutes left. And Kentucky desperately trying to hang on and move on to the Sun Belt Conference semifinals Wednesday night, which they would host here in Lexington against West Virginia. They play it back to Alexander. Perez has been awfully good for South Carolina tonight. Holstad able to cut him off for a minute. Crane leaves it. Holstad steps in and gets it back. And now Gutman trying to clear. And are they going to call a foul against Bjorgelsen? Clock is stopped, 2:16 to play. Really dangerous spot right here.
Kentucky with everyone back.
Crane.
South Carolina, everyone forward.
And that's a beautiful delivery. And now Marie's just looking to clear. Miller tried to get it in, couldn't, and South Carolina keeps it in. Knocked away there by Sarita. And Screen looking to come up with a takeaway. Instead, they go to the middle. Deacle Docks looks to set. Banahan shoots it back outside. That ball is centered. That's trouble. And that's over the net with 1:30 or so to go. And Nilsson, that was a great
ball
effort.
in. Nielsen just too late on his jump.
And now Moles, I can't imagine, will kick it unless he's instructed by the referee. They had stopped the clock. And Bjorgelsen wins another one in the air. And we're coming up on the last minute. Banahan got by a couple of defenders. He got by Holstad. And finally, it was Grosso who came and made the tackle. And then that's going to be a yellow on Banahan.
He made it through one, he made it through two. 3. Grosso wasn't going to let it be 4.
And Grosso knew he was going to take big contact.
Yeah. As a, you know, I know a lot of center backs who love that kind of contact.
Bjorgelsen got it right to Damji, and Alexander saved it.
You know, if Damji puts that anywhere but where he puts it, it's a goal. Sarita furious with the referee for a late call. Referee looked like he had waved it on.
And now they're going to give Sarita a yellow card, but the time is more important. So 37 seconds left. The yellows don't matter at this point in time. The only thing that matters is whether or not South Carolina can get it in the goal.
And there goes Ben Alexander.
And if Kentucky can keep it out. So they're going to bring up Alexander, their keeper.
Biggest man on the field.
6'4". Crane with the delivery. It's loose. And it's out to Alexander.
Inside
Under
30 seconds.
They try to chip it in again. Ball loose in the center of the field, and Screen clears it. And that might very well do it. Down to 17 seconds. Getting ready to say Bruletti tried to throw it in way up court. He's still not further enough back. And now that ball goes into the stands, and that's going to do it. Final seconds. And Aitor Bjorgelsen with a fist pump. And the Wildcats face